Making a monster. How to build a budget gaming PC without losing your mind. You will need time, space, fiddly components and patience, but it can be a deeply satisfying process that won't break your bank. The tools. Before you start, make sure you're all set up to build on a PC safely. You need a large table because you will have components everywhere. And don't build on a carpet or indeed near any material that could generate static. Static is your enemy. There are only two tools you really need. A decent Phillips screwdriver, size 0 or 1 should do it, preferably with a magnetic tip and a long shaft, and a pair of long nose pliers for when you drop a screw behind the motherboard. I'd also advise a powerful flexible lamp, maybe even a headlamp. No one said you were going to look cool doing this. The considerations. Building a budget gaming machine is all about compromises and where you're willing to make them. At a basic level, you'll need to decide if screen resolution, how much detail there is in the graphics, is the most important thing to you, or refresh rate, how smoothly a game moves, measured in HC. If you want astonishing visual fidelity, you want a machine that can deal with 1440p or even 4K resolution, but that might mean running games at a lower refresh rate which will make them look choppy. Most experts I spoke to said it's better to aim for balanced performance, with your GPU, graphics processing unit, and CPU, central processing unit, comparable in price and abilities. That way there are no bottlenecks in your system. I'd say for a budget machine you should be aiming for specs that can handle 1080p screen resolution and 60 to 144 Hz refresh rate. The parts a PC is built from these basic components: a motherboard, a CPU, a GPU, system memory, a hard drive or SSD, solid-state drives, a power supply unit, PSU, and a case. These days, parts are designed to be highly interoperable, but the invaluable website PC Part Picker will help you to spot compatibility issues. The motherboard is the central nervous system of your PC. Everything connects to it, and there are various sizes, with different ports and connections. I recommend reading a good guide for more info. For my build, I chose the extremely good MSI Mag B760 Tomahawk motherboard, which is comparatively cheap but offers 3 slots for M2 SSDs and lots of other ports, as well as really comprehensive software for analyzing the performance of your machine. It also comes in a cool matte black finish if you're into motherboard aesthetics, which we all are. As for the CPU-GPU combo, I went with Intel and Nvidia this time, as I used all AMD parts in my last build, which is still a fine setup. I decided on an Intel Core i5-1340F, which PC Gamer recently rated the best budget gaming CPU. A 10-core beast with truly impressive processing speeds and lower power consumption than many competitors. It will serve you well for several years. For the GPU I opted for a deep breath MSI Ventus 2X NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3050. I went for an MSI card to match my motherboard, and because its components have always been reliable for me in the past. Lots of manufacturers make their own RTX 3050 based cards, so look out for offers. This GPU offers very decent visual performance for the price, though you're looking at running modern games at 1080p resolution rather than 1440p if you're keeping graphics setting at the higher end. You could opt for the RTX 3060, which is £70 more expensive, but gives a noticeable boost in performance. And actually, when you study Steam's hardware review, a monthly look at what Steam users are using to play games on, the most common GPU remains the GeForce GTX 1650, which costs around £140. Anyway, I'm really happy with the MSI Ventus 2X, which is handling games such as Apex Legends, Resident Evil 4 and Baldur's Gate exceptionally well, with fluidity and lots of visual detail, as long as I don't put all the graphics settings up to max. For the case and the PSU, I went for the German manufacturer Be Quiet. Because I like a hushed, well-ordered environment. I got a Pure Base 500DX case, which has a very roomy, well-designed interior, making it easy to slot in all the components and wires. It also comes with built-in fans, some nice, subtle RGB lighting and a lot of screws and accessories. If you're new to building, believe me, size matters. A big case is a good idea when you're cramming in a full-size motherboard, GPU and CPU, then attaching all the teeny wires. I'd advise attaching the CPU to the motherboard before you fit it in the case, then slot the many internal power cables onto the MB before adding the GPU. You also need to make sure you have the right PSU for your build. If you have a top-end CPU and GPU, you'll need upwards of 650 W to cope with the power demand. Check your power supply needs with an online calculator. I opted for a Be Quiet Pure Power 12M at 550 W. It's a modular PSU, which means all the cables can be easily removed, very handy when building and updating. It's also very quiet. In terms of reliability, I put one in my son's PC, which has been more or less switched on for 2 years, much to my frustration, and has kept all the internals safely powered with absolutely no explosive power cuts. For memory, I went with the American manufacturer Crucial, a veteran in computer storage and a reliable brand that I've used in my builds before. I opted for a 1TB P3 SSD, which offers decent read-write performance at a low price. I'm using it instead of an HDD hard disk drive, and it's coping well. For system memory, the current